Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for reciting the root text. And also, before the root text, we recite taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So these two practices are very, very important because most of us consider ourselves, I'm a Buddhist. First, we must know what does mean Buddhist and non-Buddhist. In Tibetan language, Buddhist is a nangpa, inward. Non-Buddhist, in Tibetan language, we say chipa, chi rolpa, mean outward. It has a very important meaning. Inward. Buddhist means, look inward. Don't look outward. Because the suffering we don't want actually is arise within ourselves. It's arising based on the mind. Also, the happiness, liberation, Buddhahood, which is we always wish to achieve. All of them also we must achieve within ourselves. We must achieve through transforming our mind. Therefore, when you remember I'm a Buddhist, all the problem we have, we should not, point outside. We must point inward, inside. The suffering I don't want actually is arise within my mind. The happiness, liberation, Buddhahood, which is I always wish to achieve, they also must achieve within ourselves, must achieve through transforming the mind. Therefore, the concept, the meaning of Buddhist mean, we always need to look inward, not outward. Therefore, at the beginning, we recite the verses for taking refuge. Also, Buddhist or non-Buddhist, it depends on having, it depends on taking refuge into Triple Gem. So when we take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, make sure we should not think all the happiness can be, provided by Buddha. No, when we take refuge to the Buddha, we must take Buddha as our teacher. He is like a human being or being who can show us, who can teach us the path, how to achieve liberation. He is a being, fully enlightened being, who can show us how to end the suffering. Therefore, Buddha is always considered as our teacher for all the time. Second, when we take refuge into Dharma, Dharma means the ultimate Dharma, the realization. For example, realize emptiness, generating bodhicitta, practicing 6 perfections, are the ultimate or actual Dharma. In order to free from suffering, in order to achieve Buddhahood, so we need to cultivate bodhicitta. We need to realize emptiness. The emptiness from the point of view of the Madhyamaka, particularly from the point of view from the Pasangika, the consequence school. Then third, when we take refuge into Sangha, we must consider all the Arya, all the Araha, who achieve, who already accomplish the seeing path, the meditation path. Those are considered our like a component to practice the Dharma, to show the path. At the same time, when we take refuge into Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, we need to think, oh, this is the Buddha who fully achieved the enlightenment, who totally free from suffering. I want to be like a Buddha, like Buddha Shakyamuni, Amida Buddha, Manjushri. I want to be Buddha as them. When we take refuge into Dharma, we're not just only taking in refuge to the Dharma. We must think, I want to cultivate the paths. Therefore, we have been practicing, like Lamrims for many, many years. So, but we don't really try to cultivate the bodhicitta. So at the same time, taking refuge to Dharma, we must think, I will cultivate the path to achieve liberation, to achieve Buddhahood, to end in the suffering. When we take refuge into Sangha, at the same time, we must think, I want to be a Sangha. Sangha doesn't mean just want to be full ordained. I want to be Arya. So at the beginning, it's very important to take refuge, must have a strong aspiration to be a Buddha, to cultivate the Dharma, to be a Sangha. The second, when we chant the verses for generating bodhicitta, we always should not just chant as a chanting with a nice melody. We must chant verbally, mentally. At the same time, we need to generate bodhicitta. After generating bodhicitta, then we must have we must take the bodhisattva vows. Mean, I wish to be Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Therefore, since today, I will practice the bodhicitta with the 6 perfections. Right? So make sure when you chant, at the same time, you do the proper practice. Okay, so also today class, we begin from the root text. So it has a 10 chapter. The first chapter is the perfect joy. Perfect joy. So when you think about the first chapter is chapter about the first grown. The first grown, namely the name perfect joy. In our daily life, we used to have so many sense of joy, the joyness, but we haven't had the perfect joy. The Bodhisattva, when he or she reached to the seeing path, then the Bodhisattva has a great joyness. Once he or she knew, since today, definitely I will be Buddha. I never going to, return to the Hinayana path. I'm not going to, fall into Hinayana path. So he or she can see, I will be Buddha. Therefore, there's a great joyness. Second, he or she realize, after seeing the emptiness by direct perception, that he or she realize, I fully stop the causes to born into lower realms. Also, he or she feel very great joy. The most important, they feel so joyous because they see the emptiness through the direct perception, not the conceptual mind. Right? So when we think about the first chapter, we should not think, oh, this Bodhisattva has a great joyness. Also, we must think, I want to have that kind of joys, the joyness in my lifetime. So how we can be Arhat, Mahayana or Bodhisattva Arhat. Therefore, we start from the root text. Make sure you understand all the meanings of all the verses. The first word, Sarvakas and middle level Buddhas arise from sovereign sages. Also, that you must think, the Sarvaka, Pratika Buddha are actually, they practice the path. Then they become Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha, rely on the Buddha. Without Buddha, none of them can be Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha. Therefore, the hearer, select realizer, or depend on Buddha. That means Buddha is the teacher for them. The Buddha teaches the path for them. Then they follow the Hinayana path. Then they become Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha. Then how someone be Buddha? The second line, Buddhas are born from Bodhisattva. Now, there's no any confusion. It is a very clear, instruction. All the Buddhas in the past, present, in the future, all the Buddhas must be Buddha, practicing bodhicitta. That means all the Buddhas, before he or she became a Buddha, they were, Bodhisattva. How she and he became Bodhisattva? They practiced bodhicitta, right? Then third line, second one, Buddhas are born from Bodhisattva. Then how Bodhisattva, how a person, how he or she become Bodhisattva. Then the third sentence, the third line, the compassionate mind and non-dual cognition, as well the awakening mind, these are causes for Bodhisattva. Now you see very clear how we can be Bodhisattva. We can be Bodhisattva if we practice great compassion, non-dual cognition, and bodhicitta. These three are the causes to become bodhisattva, right? So therefore, if you wish to be Buddha, if you wish to achieve the enlightened state, you have to be bodhisattva. If you want to be bodhisattva, then we have to practice great compassion, the non-dual cognition in the wisdom which realizes emptiness, then bodhicitta. If we practice three of them, then we can be bodhisattva, then we can be Buddha, then we can teach Dharma, then someone become bodhisattva, someone become arhat, and Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha. Therefore, the third line, the compassionate mind and non-dual cognition, mean the mind which realizes emptiness. As well, the awakening mind, these are causes for bodhisattva. So among the three, the compassionate mind means the great compassion, and the wisdom which realizes emptiness, and bodhicitta. Within the three, which one we must practice first? There's a three practices for cause to be bodhisattvas. Among the three, which one we must practice at the first, at the beginning? Then the second stanza, as compassion alone is accepted to be the seeds for the perfect harvest of Buddhahood, the water that nurtures it, and the fruit that is long as sources of enjoyment. Among the three, first we must practice great compassion as a foundation to cultivate bodhicitta, as a foundation to be bodhisattva, right? Therefore, we need to practice great compassion, because the great compassion is very important in the beginning as a seeds. Great compassion is very important in the middle, like a harvest. Great compassion is very important at the end as a ripen the fruits. So therefore, we must practice compassion among the practice compassion among the three. Therefore, the fourth line, I will praise compassion at the start of all. Right now, therefore, Chandra Kirti said, among all the practices, compassion is most important one. Therefore, I praise to compassion, which you cause to arise bodhicitta. Then bodhicitta can be caused to be bodhisattva. Bodhisattva can be caused to achieve Buddhahood, can be caused to be Buddha. Then Buddha can be caused to born Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha, as well other bodhisattva. Right? Therefore, it's a very clear, instruction how we must practice the bodhisattva, so bodhicitta and Mahayana. Then 1.3, the three stanza. So why we need to cultivate great compassion? Great compassion is the important in the beginning, it is important in the middle, it is important at the end. Why it is important at the beginning? Without seeds, we cannot cultivate the harvest. Without great compassion, we cannot cultivate bodhicitta. The bodhicitta like a harvest. If the harvest grow well, at the end, if there's no fruits, no grains, there is no point to cultivate the harvest. Then someone become a Buddha if the person doesn't possess compassion, then the Buddha cannot benefit others. Therefore, compassion is very important to develop. Right? Then how we should cultivate compassion. So compassion always absorb or focus on sentient beings, suffering beings. I mean, all sentient beings are suffering beings. Even though the Bodhisattva who reached to the 10 bhumi, within maybe a few days, he or she can be Buddha, but still he or she has the suffering, they possess the suffering. Therefore, all sentient beings are considered as a suffering being. So when you practice compassion, you must focus on sentient beings, not the Buddha. Right? That means the compassion always absorb, always focus on sentient being. Therefore, 1.3, first with the thought, I am, they cling to self. Then with the thoughts, mind, they become attached to the thing. Like buckets on the water wheel, they turn without control. This stanza is very precisely introduce us why we are in samsara. What are the causes us to be in samsara? Therefore, first, you're talking about ignorance, particularly ignorance of about the self. So first, we need to think about ourselves. We need to reflect on our own I. Right? When we say, I want to go, I am this. This thing for us, we thought, the I, which is I have, I, me, look like very independent I, independent self. Therefore, we ourselves cling on I as an independent I. The second, we said, this is my book, this is my house, this is my friend, this is my relative. The second, when we possess something, also we possess, all the possessions are independent. First we cling on self as an independent. Second, when we cling on our belongings as an independent, then we have an attachment. Right? There's an ignorance. Second, there's an attachment. If there's an attachment, then there's a hatred, aversion, anger. When we engage into action caused by anger and attachment, then the action always the negative action, the non-virtuous action. When we engage into action based on caused by compassion, kindness, tolerance, devotion, faith, cares, actions are the positive action, the virtuous action. Still doesn't matter the action is a positive action or negative action, still cause to born in samsara, right? Samsara. Now you see it's a very clear instruction. We have ignorance of ourselves. The second, we have ignorance of all the belongings. Then, based on the ignorance, we have attachment. Then we have anger. Then we engage in action. We accumulate negative action. Therefore, we are born into lower realms. We have accumulated the positive actions. Therefore, we were born, right now we are in the high realms. Still, we are in samsara. Samsara. The second, the line, like buckets on the water wheel, that turned without control. So until now, we don't have any control not to born in samsara. Right? Therefore, ignorance is always there. Due to the ignorance, attachment arises all the time. Anger arises all the time. All the time we engage into actions. Therefore, we always turn into samsara, like the bucket wheels. Right? Then there's the 6 analogies. Please remember, I explained many times, 6 analogy, the bucket wheels. The buckets are, strongly tied with the wheel. This means we are strongly tied with the samsara, with the attachment and anger. Right? So this is explain how we generate compassion. We must think all sentient beings in samsara look like forever in samsara. They turn in samsara without controlling. There's no control. Right? Then, when we think this way, then when you look at anybody around you, so for you very easy to cultivate, very easy to generate compassion. In order to generate compassion, we don't need to think about, oh, this person has a physical problem, mental problem, disease and sickness. Those are temporal kind of, like a suffering. So we are suffer for billions of your ignorance, attachment, anger. Therefore, this line explains how to generate compassion. Therefore, I bow to the compassion that cares for such as suffering beings. Right? That means compassion always absorb, focus on the suffering being who has a suffering. Suffering not only talking about the physical sickness and disease, who are suffer for many years, ignorance, attachment, anger. Then 1.4 is talking about very particular 3 types of compassion. First, merely observe sentient being. So this is a sentient being who has a lot of always has a suffering. Then you generate compassion. Merely observe merely sentient being. Second, the sentient being, when you cultivate compassion, you must remember these sentient beings are impermanent. Third, when you cultivate compassion, you must remember all sentient beings whom I cultivate compassion, those are totally empty of inherent existence. That means there are 3 different ways how to cultivate compassion. 3 of equally absorb sentient being. The first, merely sentient being. Second, the sentient being characterized by impermanence. The third one, characterized by emptiness. Therefore, being are like reflection of the moon in repelling water. Is talking about the beings are impermanent, like the reflection on the moon in the repelling water, right? When the water is moved, the reflection on the moon in the water is always moving. That means all conditioned phenomena momentarily is changing, moving towards the ending. The second line, seeing them as a fleeting and avoiding of intrinsic nature, is talking about the sentient beings. The nature is emptiness. The Bodhisattva's mind falls under compassion away, yearning to sit free every transmigrating being. These three we call ordinary path: great compassion, bodhicitta, the mind which realizes emptiness. These three we call ordinary path. Therefore, so we consider as a beginner, just beginner for practicing like a dharma, beginner for the Mahayana path. I said many times, we should not just try to practice very high level, practice like Vajrayana, Tantrayana, illusory body, clear mind, power. Those are very important. We haven't, we haven't had the ability yet to practice very high level of practice. Therefore, we must start our practice from the ground. First, practice great compassion as much as we can. Then second, we can reflect on emptiness. So how we should reflect on emptiness, how we, try to realize emptiness. You always need to think, oh, all phenomena has always duality for me. You might think for me, there's always dualities. Mean appear in a some way, reality is in other ways. It look like the what you call the musician horse, the magic horse. Yes, you must think all phenomena has always duality for me. Then you need to look more closely to any phenomena around you. For example, cup. So we have been seeing a cup. We have been using the cup for many, many years. But we never think, how the cup is really exist. So you just simply, you reflect on a cup. You hold a cup, then you think, what is this? Of course, we say, yeah, this is a cup. Is the cup really exists independently, or is just merely designated based on, based on some condition, based on certain parts? So when you think these two ways exist independently or merely designated, first you think, yeah, the cup exists independently, in some independently, inherently, ultimately, is a same meaning. First you think, you just assume the cup exists independently. Now you ask again question, are you sure the cup exists independently? You say yes. If the cup exists independently, then why the cup causes the condition to exist? Why the cup causes the condition to establish as a cup? Then slowly we will realize, oh, cup is depend on causes condition, dependent origination, depend on causes condition. That means, oh, the cup is not really independent entity. It depends on causes condition. That means you realize, one types of dependent origination. Then think you more precisely, yes, the cup is depend on causes condition. Then second, you need to think more precisely the meaning of dependent origination depends on parts and whole. Okay. That means the cup exists, causes condition mean when the causes condition there's no cup. When the cause exists, the causes condition which is cause the cup, the causes condition is already cease. Therefore, the cup and it causes condition never coexist. Right? Then actually how the cup is really function as a cup. Then the cup always function depend on its own parts. That means the cup, its parts is always exists simultaneously. Where there's a cup, there are parts. When there's a part, there's a cup. They exist simultaneously. That means the cup and as a whole, then in the handle, upper, lower, all the atoms, the molecules are the parts of the cup. Then you realize, another types of, meaning of dependent origination depend on parts and whole. Then still you think, then yes, it depends on parts and whole, still look like a cup exists independently, some way. Then finally you need to think, the cup I have, the thing I have, we establish as a cup merely designation, designated by my thoughts. Dependent on causes, dependent on, like a name and thoughts. So dependent, established by name and thoughts is very important. For example, if there's no any human beings around the area, some parts of the land, there's no human being around there. But there's a something which is heat the environment. There's a something which is moisture the environment. There's a something which is the produce, something. I never say produce fruits. I say there's something which is, heat the environment. There's a something which is moisture the environment. There's a something it cause to, grow something, but there doesn't have a, name as a water, name as a fire, name as a tree, name as a fruits. Now the water, fruits, fire, mountain, like sun and moon, everything we designated. There's one of the luminous kind of phenomena we merely designate it as a sun. There's another type of very luminous thing we name moon. That means the moon and sun is merely designated by human being. Right? Therefore, you need to reflect on emptiness. Somehow, first we need to generate great compassion. Without generating compassion, we cannot generate, actual bodhicitta. Without generating actual bodhicitta, we cannot be bodhisattva. Therefore, we have to. Second, we have to reflect on emptiness. We have to realize emptiness. Without realizing emptiness, we never, get rid of the ignorance. We cannot eliminate the ignorance, then we never be free from the cause of we never be free from the samsara, because the cause is always there. Right? The cause of the samsara is always there. Therefore, we always in samsara. Like you have, the cancer kind of cells in your body. Until we remove the cancer cells, the cancer is always there. Therefore, the ignorance is look like very serious, like cancer cells. We need to remove. Then, we can be free from the cancer. So we have to realize emptiness. Now I hope you remember. I hope you realize. Yes, first great compassion, then the emptiness, then bodhicitta. Right? This practice explained based on the the intelligent disciple. He or she can generate. He or she can realize emptiness before bodhicitta. Then certainly Lucas, explain the three ordinary path. Then directly go to the bodhisattva arhat path. The bodhisattva's mind falls under the compassion's sway. Then yearning to set free every transmigrating beings. Now you can see the connection. Once you fully generate great compassion, then you can generate bodhicitta. You realize emptiness. Now you become very compassionate being. Not only compassionate towards your friends, your dear and near one, you are very compassionate person towards all sentient beings, not verbally. In the reality, you have a great compassion. Very simple way, you just think, you are very compassionate person in your family. You are the only person who has a great compassion towards all your family. Pure compassion. Therefore, every day, tirelessly, you make an effort then to be happy. You always wish all my family is always be happy, free from suffering, and also you try to provide all the necessary condition towards your family, because you have a pure compassion towards your family. That means all sentient beings, like your family, you are the one of the great compassionate person. Therefore, you always think how I can how I can they free from suffering, how I can provide cause for happiness for them. Therefore, now you can see the link here, next one. Through the intense dedication with the Samanthabhadra prayers. He abide in the perfect joy. This is called the first groan. Become very compassionate, have a bodhicitta, then he did a lot of dedication, all kinds of dedication. Remember I said last time, when he or she see the sick person, he wish, he can be doctor. He can provide all the necessary medicine. When he or she see the hungry beings, you always wish to be transformed into food for them, wish to provide all the food for them. When you see there's a big kind of war between the two countries, you always wish to be like a Dharma king to solve the problem between two countries. Therefore, since he or she become bodhisattva, have a great compassion, he or she always do millions of dedications, prayers. Then all the dedication prayers, billions of different dedication prayers, we can include into the Samanthabhadra's prayers. Also, we can say aspiration prayer of the king of the aspiration prayers, Samanthabhadra prayers, particularly the two stanzas. He abide in the perfect joy. This is called the first groan. From that point on, having attained this groan, he is held by the name Bodhisattva alone, right? Since he or she reached to the first bhumi, since their name is ultimate Bodhisattva, because he or she achieved the ultimate bodhicitta. He is born into the lineage of the Tathagata as well. Since he or she reached the first bhumi, then since the person definitely can be a Buddha. He is born into the lineage of the Tathagata as well. He has utterly approached the three bonding factors, such as Bodhisattvas uphold the state of supreme joy. And has the power to shake 100 worlds. Stepping on from one ground to another, he travels perfectly to the higher ones. At that point, the path to all lower realms are blocked for him. At that point, all the grounds of ordinary person cease for him. He is described clearly in the terms akin to the eight arha. So he's talking about totally, I think, the ninth quality of the first Bhumis Bodhisattvas. Then 1.8, even when abide on the first ground of the mind for full awakening, he surpasses those born from the sage's speech and the Pradika Buddha. That since he or she reached to the first Bhumi, then the Bodhisattva can surpasses the Pradika and Sarvaka Buddha by merit, not by intelligence. Please remember this one. Through the power of his merit, and his merit increase ever more. That means first Bhumi, the Bodhisattva can outshine, right? Outshone by the merit, not by the intelligence. Means when you compare the merit which is accumulated by the Bodhisattva The merit accumulated by the Sarvaka and Pratyeka Buddha, you cannot compare. The Bodhisattva has a much greater merit. Therefore, they can outshine for the Pratyeka and Sarvaka Buddha by merit, by not intelligent. Remember the not intelligent. Then when the Bodhisattva can, surpasses or outshine by intelligent, then the next line, when it gone afar, he will also surpasses them by his intelligence. So when they reach to the seven bhumi, then the Bodhisattva who reached to the seven bhumi, he or she can outshine the Pratyeka and Sarvaka Buddha by intelligence. So this sentence is very important. This sentence, try to explain whether you are Mahayana practitioner, Hinayan practitioner, you need to realize emptiness. Therefore, Sarvaka and Pratyeka Buddha and Bodhisattva are equally realize emptiness, have to realize emptiness. That means the Sarvaka Pratyeka Buddha possess the intelligence, the mind, which realize emptiness. Right? Therefore, according to the Pasangika tradition, all the Hinayana practitioner, whether you are Pratyeka or Sarvaka, you have to realize emptiness. Without realizing emptiness, you really cannot eliminate the affliction and afflictive emotions. Is try to explain, they have to realize emptiness. Then at this point, first cause for full awakening. So now we follow the, I think the commentary. The quality that come to the superior on the first ground, the quality that comes to be superior on the first ground. This has a 4 parts. So this is a very Tibetan important tradition, because when you open, all the Indian master treatises, it doesn't have, the outline. The straightforward explanation, one by one, it doesn't have a outline. In Tibetan, they have a lot of outline. Therefore, you say, the quality that comes to be superior on the first ground, this has a 4 parts. The generosity of one abiding on the first ground, the generosity of the lower stations, the generosity of bodhisattvas, the division of the perfection of generosity. That means, first, at the first ground, the bodhisattva is very superior, practicing the generosity among the 10 perfections. That means he has a very, he's a very master, become master practicing generosity, not become master to practicing the morality, rest of the 9 perfections. He or she practiced the 10 perfection, but he or she is a very master in practicing generosity. Therefore, the generosity of one abide on the first ground. Then generosity of the lower stations, generosity of a bodhisattva, then division. The generosity of one abiding on the first ground, at this point, the first cause of full awakening, the perfect of generosity, will become preeminent, right? Preeminent, committed to giving away even his very flesh. Giving become a sign to infer his unseen quality. At this point, when the ground of perfect joy is attained, it is the perfection of generosity alone among the 10 perfections. They become preeminent for the Bodhisattva. It is not the case, however, that he does not possess the other perfection. This supramundane perfection of generosity is also first cause of fully awakening. This is for the cause to be understood in terms of the supramundane level of generosity. Simply what he is saying here, the Bodhisattva who reached to the first bhumi, he or she practiced the 10 perfections. Among the 10 perfections, he is a very master practicing generosity. Still he practiced, rest of the 9 perfections, but he is a very master in practicing generosity. Clear? Generosity. Therefore, the practicing generosity is the first cause to achieve. Generosity is also the first cause for full awakening. Here, what we need to know. Remember, on the ground, on the basis, there are the two truths. Conventional truth and ultimate truth. There are only two truths. The two truths are one coin has a two sides. Let me say this is a coin, it always has a two sides. When we say this is a book, the book has always two types of nature, a conventional nature, the ultimate nature. That means the book has always two truths. The true truth is always, like one entity, different oscillation. When we say book, we are talking about the conventional truth. The book can be opened, the book can be changed. The book is established by many pages. We are talking about conventional truth. When we say the book is empty of inherent existence, we are talking about the ultimate nature of the book. The true truth of the book is always one entity. Without the book, we cannot establish emptiness of the book. Without emptiness of the book, we cannot really establish the book. Therefore, in the Heart Sutra, we call form is emptiness. Emptiness is form, right? Form is not other than the emptiness. Emptiness not other than the form. That means form and emptiness of form are one entity, different oscillation. Without the form, there's no emptiness of the form. Without emptiness of the form, we cannot establish the form. Right? Therefore, when you meditate on emptiness, so any emptiness, right, emptiness of the book, emptiness of your body, you must think, my body exists, established within the empty of inherent existence. Emptiness of my body exists established based on the body. Without body, there's no emptiness of the body. Without emptiness of the body, we cannot establish a body. Right? That means when we think about the body is merely designated, depend on past and whole, depends on cause and condition. Right? That means emptiness of the body. The body exists, established because the nature is emptiness. Therefore, it need to depend on others. Right? There's two types of truth. Then, based on the two truths, then there's a two practices. Practice of wisdom, practice of the methods. Practicing compassion, kindness, tolerance, great compassion, renunciation, all of them include into practice of methods. Then meditating on emptiness, the mind which realizes emptiness, practicing or meditate on emptiness include into the wisdom. That means all the practices we must include into two kind of practices. Then when we practice the two practices, then we accumulate two types of merit. Two types of merit. Then, based on the two types of merit, we're going to achieve the two kaya, Dharmakaya and Rupakaya. Rupakaya, right? The Rupakaya means the form of the body, the Buddha's form, which we can see. For us, the Buddha body is look like, made of flesh and bone. In the reality, the Buddha body is manifest from one of the merit. Therefore, practicing generosity is the first course to achieve the enlightenment, particularly first course to achieve the Rupa Kaya. Clear? Generosity. Therefore, he is saying here in the root text, at this point, the first cause of full awakening, which is the generosity. The perfection of the generosity will become preeminent, committed to giving away even his very flesh. Giving become a sign to inferior his unseen quality. That means he or she become very master to practicing generosity. Therefore, he or she is very happy to give his, his own body, flesh and bone. Therefore, some of you went to Nepal. There's, I think, Tiger Hill. In Tibetan, we call, Tamo Lujing, the female tiger, and offer her own body. This is one of the history of Buddha Shakyamuni. So when he was practicing great compassion, then he saw one of the, the tiger mother was become very weak. Also, he was so hungry, very hungry. So she was very hungry. So she doesn't know what to do. She's very hungry. She has a few cups. She could not find her food. That means she was, almost, ready to eat his own cups. Then Buddha realized, look at the desire is very bad. So the mother is ready to eat his own cups. He asked his, disciples, please go around, get a food for the tiger who was very hungry. Then all the disciples go around, they really try to find a food for the tiger. So nobody, find the food. And that time, the Buddha Shakyamuni, one of the life, he knew that it is a tiger. The tiger is not going to eat grass. So she always eats flesh and bones and blood. Therefore, he, fully offer his body to the tiger. He cut, himself, cut into many pieces and just, lie down next to the tiger. Then the tiger eat his body. That means, look at, he very much happy to give, offer his own body to others, right? So this is the first course to achieve full awakening. Although generally the subsequent perfection is superior to the on that precedes, generosity is described as a superior because the power to practice generosity on this ground excel to the extent that is on the cause for morality and so on. This is the root text. Next one. All living beings eagerly yearn for happiness, yet for human, there's no happiness without resources. Material resources, in turn, come about from generosity. Again, now you can see the, the link or, the connection. Achieving the first bhumi. In order to achieve first bhumi, the person need to practice dharma for many years, many lifetimes. If the person always have a lot of sufferings and a lot of problem, the person really cannot practice the dharma. The person really cannot practice bodhicitta and emptiness. Therefore, the person must have the necessary resources. Then the person is, love is very comfortable to practice dharma. Therefore, this we have an experience, right? When you are very sick, when you are very, desperate with the food and clothes, you never think. We don't have a time to thinking about practicing dharma because we are facing a lot of problem. No enough food, no enough clothes, no shelter to stay, no medicine. So we are really searching food and clothes for 24 hours. We didn't have a time. We don't have a time to practice dharma. Therefore, we need all the necessary resources. Then we have a good time to practice dharma. Therefore, we all, right? We always think I don't have a really enough. We think, oh, I don't have enough clothes. I'm very worried about my future. I have a house, or I have a HDB. My HDB is very old. I want to buy a new one. Therefore, we always think I don't have enough. Therefore, we always, looking better facilities. Therefore, our mind becomes very busy. Therefore, we don't have enough time to practice in dharma. Whatever we have, the house, the food, the clothes, the resources, we must content. We must be content with this thing. Because most of us, over 50, 60, we don't have so many years to go. We must content with all the condition, all the facilities we have. We more focus on our daily practice. I said many times, in our culture, we have a idea of insurance, life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, house insurance. So when we do insurance, something happen, we know we can get like a new cars, new house. Also, we must do, proper insurance for next life. So somehow, without any choosing, without any option, one day, so we have to leave this world. We have to leave our families and friends. We have to leave our country. When we leave, so we have seen so many people already left. Somebody left yesterday, somebody left last week, somebody left last year. So many people already left before us. Did we, had we seen anybody, bring with them like a check, credit card, debit card, friends, family? No. We have seen when they left, everything left behind. The cars, expensive house, all the money, all the property, cannot. Therefore, we must do the good, proper insurance for next life. What should we do? That means, since today, we focus more about our daily practice, practicing generosity, so and so. All this practice can be bring with us for next life. Right? Therefore, resources is very important, practicing generosity. Then the second one, the generosity of the lower station. There's been one types of generosity can be cause to achieve a full awakening like a state, like a Buddhahood, particularly the cause to achieve the Rupakaya. That means when we practice generosity, realizing a person who giving the things going to give, the person who is going to receive, the recipient, three, we practice generosity, realizing three of them empty of inherent existence. This type of generosity can be cause to achieve liberation, particularly cause to achieve, Rupakaya. Then the lower station, generosity bring the happiness for cyclic existence. Right? It's not the therefore lower station in the samsaric happiness. All living beings eagerly yearn for happiness. Right? All living beings eagerly yearn for happiness. Yet for humans, there's a human. Yet for human, there's no happiness without resources. Material resources in turn come about from the generosity. Knowing this, Buddha spoke on generosity first. All living beings eagerly yearning for happiness, right? All living beings eagerly yearning happiness. As a Buddhist, we really realize, all sentient beings want happiness, don't want suffering at all. Therefore, due to this reason, we stop harming others. In a one hand, we realize all sentient beings want happiness. In the other hand, if you harm them, that means you are stupid. In the other hand, you realize all sentient beings eagerly want happiness. In the other hand, we always try to harm others, physically, mentally, emotionally. Right? Physically, we beat someone. Verbally, we use a lot of bad word, harm others. Also, emotionally, we harm others. Now you can see it's a contradictions. Therefore, particularly yet for humans, there's no happiness without resources. There's a human. Doesn't mean all sentient beings' happiness depend on the, the material resources. So we human beings, our happiness very much depend on the resources like food, clothes, house, medicine, like job, so and so. Then there's another type of sentient being we call, form or formless being. They don't need like really food and clothes and house and medicine. Their happiness, achieved depend on other resources. Yet for human, there's no happiness without resources. Material resources in turn come about for generosity. Knowing this, the Buddha spoke on the generosity first. That means first we need resources for happiness. The resources for happiness must come from practicing generosity. Remember in the Precious Garland, the first few lines explain the meaning of each of the generosity. Second, explain antidotes. Each of the perfection reduce very particular afflictive emotions. Then last, explained the benefit of practicing each of the perfection. Therefore, generosity, resources, practicing morality, happiness. Practicing morality cause to achieve the higher realms. Remember the benefit of the 6 perfections. So also, so we just chant all the verses. We know, practicing generosity can be caused to having resources. We must think, also we must practice in our daily life. Then there are 3 types of generosity. Be generous for giving the material things like a house, medicine, food, clothes, like money. Giving material things. And giving life. So I said, and I also remember many times I said, in Singapore, we have a good, kind of culture, tradition, like animal liberation, fish liberation. We know all these fish going to killed in the restaurant. Before they killed, we bought them and released in the ocean. We are giving another, second kind of life for them. It's also part of the, practicing generosity. Also, doctors, nurse, the people who work for the hospital, cleaning hospital, they're also, like really, giving life for us. They're also, kind of practicing generosity. The third one, giving the, kind of dharma, giving materials, giving life, giving dharma. Giving dharma doesn't mean you have to teach dharma. For example, some of your friends are very unhappy due to certain reason, and you, approach to them, ask why you are so unhappy, what's your problem? Or the person says, I'm very not happy with my son, my daughter, my husband, my neighbors. Then you must give, the right advice not to be very unhappy. So after you give advice, the person feel relief, feel happy, happiness. That means you are giving dharma for them, right? Generosity. So all our daily practicing generosity only cause to happiness in samsara. Therefore, knowing this, the Buddha spoke on the generosity first. Those with weak compassion, and the rootless minds who seek their own welfare with the enthusiasm, even for them, the wealth, the desire will come from the generosity, cause the relief suffering. So if we give something with a compassion, also, cause have a lot of resources. Even though, for example, sometimes we can see, there's a beggar in India, Singapore, sometimes we can see, some kind of people asking money. In India, so many of you went to Dharamsala, right? First day, you become very emotional. You saw so many beggars on the roadside. So you give food, you give money, you give medicine, you give your extra clothes, you become very emotional. Second day, when you go around, you saw same thing. Also, you try to give. Third or fourth day, then you already, tired with giving things. Then suddenly somebody insists to you to give food and clothes. Then you give, like money or clothes with a little angry mind, rootless mind. Yes, you give with a, kind of angry mind, still, you can get, good benefit. Is by saying here, those with a weak compassion and the rootless minds who seek their own welfare with enthusiasm, even for them, the wealth they desire will come from generosity, a cause that relieve suffering, right? And also, so when we went to Bodh Gaya, we visit all the holy sites. So, we try to give food, we try to give books and pens. We not, not trying to giving cash. Sometimes we feel, if I give a cash, the person use the cash for wrong kind of purpose, like buying alcohol, buying drugs. So we thought, not good to giving cash. Give books, pen, pencil, food. Right? But we are worried, they're going to use my money for wrong purpose. But we've forgotten, when you give thing to someone, when you give a clothes to someone, since you give it to them, the clothes is not belongs to you. It's not no more your. The medicine you already give to someone, since the medicine is no more your, is not your possession. You should not think still, this is my one. Right? Same thing when you give a $1 to the poor people, since you already give it to them, the beggar is the owner of the money, not you. Since they can use, they can throw away, you don't care much. You are not the owner of anymore them. Also, when you offer a Buddha statue in the temple, in the society, when you offer, since the society, the monastery are the owner, or of the statue, you are no more. You should not think, this is my statue. If you still think this is if you think it's my possession, that means verbally you offer, mentally still you possess the thing. Right? Therefore, we must know how to practice generosity. Also, we must know, since I offer this to someone, I'm no more owner. Those are no more mine. Since up to them. They can use it, they can throw away, whatever they do, up to them. Right? Therefore, in the Bodhisattva way of life, engage in Bodhisattva, remember there's a few lines. Since I offer my body speech and mind. I fully dedicate my body, speech and mind to others. Since you are the owner of my body, you can cut it, you can use it, it's up to you, right? So even though the crow or all the, worms, they can eat my body, I should not get angry, upset, because I'm no more owner of this body. This body already owned for others. So you fully dedicate. So please make sure you must know how to practice generosity. Since you offer things to someone, you are no more owner. Those are no more your. You should not feel angry. You should not feel, a sense of proud. It's already give it to others. Cause the relief suffering. This is talking about generosity bringing the happiness for second existence. Generosity brings the happiness of nirvana. Next line. Indeed, it is through the practice of generosity that he will swiftly, at some point, meet the Aryas. He will then clean the continuum of second existence, and as a result, he will journey to the state of the peace. That does mean, one, you practice generosity, it gives you a lot of resources, then you can have a happy life. Then you can have a good chance to practice Dharma. Second, through practicing generosity, you accumulate a lot of merit. Due to the power of merit, then one day you can meet Arya. Then you listen teaching, then swiftly, right? Then he will swiftly, at some point, meet the Arya. He will then clean the continuum of second existence, and as a result, he will journey to the state of the peace. Also, sometimes, also we have a kind of not good understanding. When we read this sentence, we feel so happy. Oh, I practice generosity. One day I will meet Arya. Then I listen to the teaching. I can clean, I can cut the root of samsara. I will achieve nirvana. Right? We feel very happy. But we always forgotten. For example, I'm not, just praising His Holiness Dalai Lama because I'm a Tibetan monk, because I received so many teaching from Dalai Lama. No. You just look at him with an honest mind. So many years, he was practicing great compassion. That somehow, he already accomplished bodhicitta. Also, so many years, he was have been studying emptiness. With a lot of logic and reasoning, he realized emptiness. For us, we can consider him as a Arya. Also, we have been, receiving a lot of teachings from him. We already met a Arhat. We already met actual Bodhisattva. Not just, met him. We received a lot of teachings. Here we are just lacking, practicing the teaching. Also, we have all the, stinless like teaching, like a commentary on the middle way, or illuminating the intent. Also, we have the, all the important Dharma books. We already have in our hands. We can read it in English, Chinese, or some of you can read in Tibetan. Also, we are lacking, practicing. Therefore, we not just study, we're not just listening, We must practice. So if we reflect in our previous lives, in the future lives, this life is the most important, very rare life we can have. In the future, maybe very difficult to have this kind of opportunity. In the past, definitely, if we didn't have this kind of opportunity to meet, qualified master, teacher, able to read the stainless teachings in English and Chinese. Also, we are not lacking instructor. We have an instructor in English, instructor, Chinese, Tibetan. We have so many qualified gurus. Again, actually, we are lacking practicing. Okay, so at the end, also we have a half hour. Also, we can have a time for discussion. Just feel free, has a question. Okay, Q&A session.
Dear Geshe,
Yes.
in the previous session, Geshe mentioned that Lama Selingpa and Lama Atisha. Lama Atisha being a Mahayana practitioner and whole Mahayana view, and Lama Selingpa whole Hinayana view but Mahayana practices. The student was asking, isn't it Lama Selingpa holding Chitta Matra tenets view? Chitta Matra tenet views, according to the tenet system, is considered to be Mahayana view. So can Geshe clarify on this point?
I'm not sure Lama Selingpa hold the Chitta Mantra views. I will study. I will come back on next Saturday. I don't think it's a Chitta Mantra view. Lama Selingpa's. Oh yeah. Adisha hold the middle way view. And Lama Selingpa practice the Mahayana path, hold the non-middle way view. That means what I think in the Lama Tsongkhapa. Okay, I think better I will explain on next Saturday, based on the biography of Adisha. Also, I heard, he hold the Chitta Mantra views. Even though Chitta Mantra view is not the middle way view, I will come back on next Saturday. Any question?
Yes, Geshe. So, the student would like to ask, is Tonglen the practice of generosity?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, Tonglen is part of the practice of generosity, generally. Okay. Then also remember, everybody know the Tonglen. So when we study about the 8 verses maintaining, also the 7 point, I said one line is really missing from the 7 point texts, from the Geshe Lobsang, also from the Tubne Chimba. In Tibetan is clearly mentioned, start from your side. First, start from your side. Tonglen. Means first, you give yourself. Give and you tell yourself. Means you tell your evening suffering. You give your happiness for your evening you. Then tomorrow you. Next year you too. Next life you. You practice Tonglen based on by yourself, giving and taking. The second, you practice this practice based on your mother, the slowly relatives and all sentient beings. Yes, Tonglen is part of the practice of generosity, and also Tonglen is part of the practice of transformation, right? So also remember the fourfold of power, offering Dharma to Dharma protectors, offering or food or Dharma to the spirit. There's also, part of the Tonglen. Yes, you are correct. Tonglen is part of the practice of generosity. Next question, please.
Geshe-la, please may I have the definition of a self-sufficient substantial existence person? I'm still a bit confused. Thank you.
Yeah. Self-sufficient, what do you call self-sufficient? Can you repeat the words?
Self-sufficient, substantially existence person.
Yeah. It's always, I think, is a very common problem, not understanding this kind of words. Again, in Tibetan words, right, translated to English. In Tibetan, we call Kangza, mean being or person. Ranghya means self-sufficient. Kangza means self or being. Ranghya Thuba, self-sufficient. Then Zeyu. Then is called, substantial. Kangza, Ranghya Thuba, Zeyu. Kangza, Ranghya Thuba or Thuba, self-sufficient. Then Zeyu, substantially existent. Right? Again, when we reflect ourselves, our own I, right? So I is not exist substantially. Substantially mean when you analyze about self, if the self exists inherently, then when you analyze self, we need to found, this particular substance, this particular, like a substance is the self. Therefore, substantial. There's no such as we can say this particular substance is a being, is a person. Therefore, person is empty of self-sufficient. It cannot be as a sufficiently. Also, it cannot be found as a substantially. Therefore, substantially, self-sufficient, substantial. So if you know really the meaning, then you need to think of from the Tibetan, based on the Tibetan term. Kangza means self. Ranghya Thuba means self-sufficient. Mean it can be able to recognize by itself. Also, when you analyze, it can be found one of the substantial can be established as a person. We don't have such as being who is self-sufficiently exist, can be pinpoint particular substance as a being. You are very right. We always translate that based on Tibetan into English. There's always confusing. Particular this. Also remember the jikta, right? Pressing view. When you read English, it doesn't make sense for you. Again, when you think based on in terms of the Tibetan language, yes, then you can understand. Pressing means jigba, like a decay or changing or pressing. Then ta, like view. So when you think about the meaning based on the Tibetan language, then for you makes sense. Also, in order to know the self-sufficient, substantially existent, then first you try to understand based on the Tibetan language, then for you become more clear. Okay, next question, please.
If human life is difficult to achieve, why do many remember past lives as human?
Sorry?
If human life is difficult to achieve,
Uh-huh.
why do many remember past lives as human?
Why do we remember the past life human?
Yeah, why do many remember past life as human?
In Tibet, I think maybe around 1930s or 40s, one of the Rinpoche or Lama was giving Lamrim teaching. Also, he was, really explaining how the human life is very rare, very little. Number of the human is very little, rare and little. And there was a, I think, attender who went to China. Then he said, the Lama never been to China. The Rinpoche never been to China. In China, there's so many human beings. It's not really little. This, then, I think related to this kind of conversation, then the Pavanga Rinpoche answered. Right now, how many human beings we have? 7 billion or more than 7 billion. How many human life you have? Only one. So it doesn't matter how many human beings are on you. You have only one human life. So we are talking about it's a very rare. Individually, you are only one. Right? We are not talking about just, it's very difficult to achieve human life. Remember, leisure and opportunity. Leisure and opportunity. Someday we can say there's a, every world, every country has some people is very, very poor. Since born, the person is always sick, always suffering, always problem. So we cannot see, this is a very rare and a good opportunity. So always remember, the human life is very rare, which is have the leisure and opportunity. This is very rare. Even though this moment you think within the 7 billion, how many people follow religion? How many people follow Buddhism? How many people follow Mahayana Buddhism? How many people really seriously follow Mahayana? How many people seriously practice Mahayana path? It's a very little number, very few. Therefore, your love is, very, just one. It doesn't care how many human beings we have. They also, like remembering previous life. Actually, we don't have so many people who can remember their previous life. We don't have many. Maybe even though in Singapore we have a 6 to 7, more than 6 million, and more than 6 million, maybe 100 people can remember their previous life when they are very young, maybe 6 or 3 or 4 years old. Slowly, they cannot remember. Also, it's so difficult to say, oh, the person is really remember their previous life. So we never, study, the boy or girl really can remember the previous life or not. So why you ask this question, why the many people remember the previous life? Can you answer me? Can you explain me? Why you ask? Yes, first I can understand. Second, why you say, why many people remember their previous life? We don't have so many people who can remember their own previous life. Okay, next question, please. If there's next question.
Yeah. Geshe-la, can you please explain the distinction between pure love, compassion, great compassion, bodhicitta, and ultimate bodhicitta? Thank you.
First, love and pure love. Then compassion, great compassion, bodhicitta. This order. Love, then compassion, then bodhicitta. Generally, that doesn't matter the love is pure or impure. When you love someone or something, then you care about the person, you care about the things. Right? So therefore, first we must have a love, then we can have a compassion. Without love, we cannot have a compassion. Love and pure love. The love always have a condition. The love with the condition is impure love. The love without condition, unconditional love is pure love. All sentient beings, for example, the tiger, the lion, they killed other, animals, but they really love their own cubs. You can see how the tiger care their own cubs, how the lion care their cubs. All the snake, they really kill others. They harm, not only harm, they kill others. But since they have a love, trust, their cubs, they are like a baby. This kind of love is conditioned love, not purely love. Also, we human beings, everybody have a love towards our family. Oh, I really like her because she is my sister, he is my brother, he is my father, she is my mother, she is my auntie, that we have the reason to love. Very specific reason. These are we call love mixed with the attachment. You attach them as your relatives, particularly you as a biased love. The second, if the love has a no bias, no boundary, you love all sentient beings, it then become pure. Also, pure and impure love is a one big difference. When you have a impure love, the love which is not pure, then behind the love always bring like emotional sufferings. When you have a pure love, behind the pure love, you never bring any emotional suffering. This is a big difference. Love. I wish, all sentient beings equally happy, have a cause of happiness. This means love. Compassion, or I wish all sentient beings free from suffering, free from cause of the suffering. This is a compassion. right? Love and compassion. Then bodhicitta, precisely speaking, love, compassion are the mental factors. Bodhicitta is not mental factor. Bodhicitta is a mind. I know it's not easy to understand, but bodhicitta is not, wishing all sentient being free from suffering, not wishing all sentient being only wishing from free from suffering. That means I wish to be Buddha. I want to be Buddha, right? Through practicing generosity, so and so and so. I wish to be Buddha to benefit all sentient being. That means you really wish all sentient being happy, free from suffering. Therefore, I want to be Buddha. I achieve the enlightened state. So when you think I want to be Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, that mind we name bodhicitta. Clear? Love, pure love, compassion, pure compassion, then bodhicitta. So this one also not just, you will understand listening, explained by someone. You have to experience. You just look at the suffering being, then you think, oh, I wish the person must be happy. Then you have a love. Oh, I wish the person is free from the sickness and disease problem. This is a compassion. I want to be doctor to save these people. I want to be doctor, free these people of sickness. This is kind of bodhicitta. Okay, now one more question. If there's question.
Currently, no.
Geshe-la, there's one question from the Chinese side.
Okay.
I will try to understand. Why when someone listen to Mahayana teaching and feel the greatness of Mahayana teaching, but at the same time yearning or wanting self-liberation only and practice self-liberation path, at the same time explain Mahayana teaching to others, can he or she really explain the meaning of Mahayana to others when he or herself only practicing Hinayana?
Yes, it is, I think, very common for, everybody else. Very common for us. When we listen to Mahayana teaching, we feel, it's a very kind of good about it. Be Buddha, benefit all sentient beings, saving all sentient beings from samsara. We feel it's very good. Then when we think about ourselves, can I bring all sentient beings from suffering? Can I really help all sentient beings? Then we feel very discouraged. Then we wish to follow the Hinayana path. First, liberate ourselves, free from suffering, be, Arhat. This is a very common feeling, I think commonly everybody have. Second, you are not practicing the Mahayana path. You just listen the Mahayana teaching to explain other may benefit certain, certain levels. They really cannot fully get the benefit. Therefore, everybody have an experience. The people who teach bodhicitta, based on having bodhicitta, the benefit is different. The people teach bodhicitta, not having, haven't achieved bodhicitta, also we can feel the benefit is different. Therefore, yes, you can benefit certain, they're different. They can explain very precisely, but the person may benefit that much. Yeah. So for you, if you really wish to achieve, individual liberation yourself, and you just, just focus on your the renunciation, emptiness, try to liberate yourself. Don't think about, lesson teaching and benefit others. It's become obstacle for your actual practice. Okay, so thank you so much for all of you to attend the today class for the entering middle way. At the beginning, I mentioned, it is not just enough to study, not just enough to say. We must practice, follow the root text is very clear, how to practice the path, why we are in samsara, what are the causes of samsara, what are the causes to achieve liberation. So please practice as much as you can. And also I mentioned, we don't have many years to go. Maybe we have 20 or 30 years. Even though we have 40, 50 years, the 20 years it can be very useless because we cannot listen, we cannot think, we cannot speak. We kind of like a dead body we have. So we have only 20 to 30 years to go. These 20 or 30 years will be very important. We should not waste our time. Practice as much as we can. When we leave this world, we must bring, very important thing with us, which is the Dharma practice, which is the positive actions. Then, then we can achieve the point of studying Dharma, attending the Dharma classes. So practice as much as you can. At the end, we do dedication. We dedicate all the merit for achieving our self-Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Dedicate all the merit for realizing emptiness, for cultivate bodhicitta. Last, we dedicate all the merit to benefit all sentient beings, all the lineage gurus live long life, live healthy life, to give the teaching for all sentient beings, particularly all human beings. Also, we dedicate the merit for ending the COVID-19, the pandemic. Jamba Bhavya Chitara Kimba Dong Gundu Sambo Deyan Dijin Deda Gunji Jesu Dalo Gewan Dida Tamje Radung Wachaze Wadang Jujin Shep Jesu Yirang Gujin Suwa De Gewa Junze Daki Jizab Tamje Zobe Janju Chenbo Rungo Janju Zenjo Rimbo Maye Bana Yego, Gewa Nyamba Meba, One Gundo Bewarazo, Tony Dawa Rembo, Maye Bana Yego, Gewa Nyamba Meba, Yang Kone Gundo Bewarazo. Thank you so much. Have a happy Saturday. Thank you.